I think it's rolling.
What?
I think it's rolling.
Oh, well, then that's probably we should get going. Then that's why I bring you in here is to set up the camera, set up the lighting,
Hit go.
Hit go. That's right.
I'm very excited.
Yes.
Well, so we just got done watching Michael Moore's new movie, Fahrenheit 11/9.
Yes.
It's a documentary. So let's lay out the facts first. It's a documentary. It's someone's point of view, Michael Moore's point of view. He says he's going to figure out, or he says in the movie, the idea is how we got here, as in how President Trump got elected and the circumstances that led up to that and the fallout afterwards.
And what do we do now?
Supposedly.
Supposedly, what do we do? Yeah. Or what should we do now? Mm-hmm. Now, it's hard to want to jump into one of these things without obviously making it super political. I mean, that's the very purpose of the movie.
Exactly.
Is to make it super political. And I know that elsewhere, when Brad and Dave and them do like the Dinesh D'Souza movies, like, you could get real hard on a tangent for politics.
Yeah.
And I think that it's gonna be impossible not to, but I think that, judging it on the merits of the movie, it's a way better movie than most other documentaries that you're going to see.
Most other political documentaries. I agree.
Yeah, the thing about Michael Moore that he gets credited with, that I credit him with, and even like he shows a clip where I think it was Steve Bannon.
Yeah, Steve Bannon loves his movie.
Steve Bannon says he may not always agree with him politically, but he's a damn good filmmaker.
That's very true.
And he is. He can make a point and then wonderfully use imagery and sound clips to make his point. Now, whether or not you agree with it, or whether or not it's like maybe he's leaving out facts, like I remember,
or he's skewing it to his point of view.
I remember when I watched Fahrenheit 9/11. He made a point about the Saudi royal family, like the other members of the Saudi family that were of the Bin Laden family or whatever, something like that, them being hurriedly whisked away, and like the Bush administration put them on a plane to fly them out of the country. And then I remember seeing other like things that played it in a more like not as extreme, like the Bush family directly took control. Like they like, other people got them out, and they as a family decided to leave. So it's like that particular point is that he very much in his documentary made the point of this was the evil Bushes doing this. When
he was making it seem like it was fact.
When that probably wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Now, was there wrong things there? Was it a bad thing that happened? Sure, of course, yes. But he was skewing it hard towards what he wanted to say. So that anecdote is to say that everything that you see him say must be with that little grain of salt, realizing that that's his belief. It's his belief. It's his point of view, and he's pushing it hard that way.
It's hard with political documentaries, because with the idea of documentary, you get the idea that this is fact.
Right.
Like that is the most. To me, that is the biggest misconception about documentaries.
Right.
Is that they are fact.
Right. No.
Michael Moore said this in an interview. I'm butchering it, but he said that the best advice you can do with making a documentary is to tell a story.
Sure. Right. And he does a really good job of that.
He's a fantastic storyteller.
Yes,
I wasn't bored for most of the movie. I was actually really engaged because he was an engaging storyteller.
He is. Yeah.
The only part I started to get bored was about the hour-and-a-half mark, where I'm like, "Whoa, we're still watching this documentary."
Right.
This is a long documentary. Documentaries really tackle one subject, and they really tell a story, but there's only so much you can tell before I'm really like, well, I know where this is going.
Right.
And that's what I was getting with this movie.
What I found interesting was, as I was driving down here thinking about this movie, I was like, what point is he going to try to tell? Like, is he going to say, oh, Trump's a bad man, he's a bad president, and like he's the worst president we've ever had, and this is all bad? I was thinking, his own supporters think he's a bad guy. They love him, but what point is he really going to try to make? And what's interesting is the point he tries to make is he draws parallels with Michigan and Flint, Michigan specifically, of how when you put in a billionaire,
you put in an inexperienced person in government,
right, which was Rick Schneider, or I think
it's Rick Snyder.
I think it was Rick Snyder. Yeah, I think that was his name.
Man, we show like we're really up to date in our our news. Oh boy,
who was he? That guy? So I don't know. Anyway, the point is that a unchecked person in government who has no checks and everybody just lets him get away with whatever he wants, the result is Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, that's the idea he was getting across.
And I think that was his ultimate goal of the entire movie, was to say that someone like Trump, unchecked in the control of the United States, the United States is going to end up like Flint, Michigan.
It kind of seems like this movie was a documentary about the crisis in Flint.
Yes,
and
very much so, yeah.
It became something bigger, which is par for course for every documentary.
Sure.
Like,
Oh, of
Icarus
course, yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. It's about how can we make this documentary about the doping agency and allegations. Oh my God, this got way bigger, way out of hand more than we thought.
Right.
Completely natural.
And honestly, that's good. I think investigative journalism, that's how it's supposed to be, is you start to crack the surface of the story and you realize what's underneath.
What's going underneath. I think what this movie didn't do well on, though, was it meandered. And maybe that's why it was 2.5 hours long, because he did the right thing. He started out the film saying, teasing us with like the pre-election night, which I think is great, because you start your storytelling off with, this is the big things about to happen, but wait, let's go back in time. And I loved that he did that. He's like, how did we get here? But as he was trying to explain how we were getting here, he went off on these tangents with stories from recent news events that, like, politically I agreed with him on, but I'm like, this doesn't have anything to do with the argument you're coming across. Like, he was interviewing the Parkland students that had nothing to do with Donald Trump getting elected. That was all in his election period.
Right. Because the movie's very much about, the poster's Trump golfing in front of the White House as it explodes behind a nuclear bomb. And so but what the movie really was, in addition to him drawing the parallel of Flint, Michigan could be what happens to all of us, what was very much, it was just kind of like a greatest hits of all the awful things that have happened over the past 5 years.
And the greatest hits of the positive things that are happening.
True, but you're right, yes, they do. He does highlight a lot of, like, the positive things, the women in government, the teachers' strikes that happened. Well,
and that's positive to people who are in that political spectrum.
And it is. It's cheerleading to the same team. That sort of thing. Which, this is just like the Dinesh D'Souza movies, in that, you're not looking around the theater going like, where's the Trump supporter that I can look at and go, there's some guy with a red hat going back there going, what? No, this is stupid. No, that's not happening. They didn't come to this movie, just like in a Dinesh D'Souza movie, there's no, like,
there's no other than liberal in the theater, except for the reviewers.
Except for Dave.
Poor Dave.
We love you, Dave.
No, but that's honestly true. Like, I think there's no difference between Michael Moore and Dinesh D'Souza, because they make...
Other than one being a much better filmmaker.
Much better filmmaker. That's what I'll say. Like, there's people who watch the Dinesh D'Souza films and they point out all the problems that I have on there. And you can watch a Michael Moore film, you can point out all the problems that are on there. But the major factor that's different between them is that Michael Moore can tell a really compelling story that can keep me engaged. Hence why his movies get a lot more attention and eyeballs. But
won actual awards.
Beyond that aspect, he's just like him. He's got an agenda. He's got, he's spinning facts to make it work. Like, he was, there's a whole montage where you're showing polls that, were saying the country is a leftist country, and the country is leftist because of this. And one of the polls, I think it was like 59% agreed on a certain leftist idea, and I'm like, okay, that's barely.
That's a majority.
That's like, and you're like using it as like your 8th number in the list. It's like, look at this list of 50 people who agree with me. Number 8, really? And he's like on the fence about it. I'm like, you can't do that, But I'm trying so hard not to give my thoughts on like the political side of the film, because I have so many thoughts. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to review the film.
Here's the thing: is we totally can be. It's just like, if we wanted to do a political talk show, we could. You know what I mean? But I kind of, because again, I think that if we went too much into the politics, then it's just going to be, we're not going to be talking about the movie anymore. We're just talking about the politics.
And that's the problem with movies like this, is because you walk out there and you're no longer talking about the movie, you're talking about its content, which I guess then that means he did a good job as a documentary filmmaker.
And that's fine. What I do think was interesting, because just trumpeting over and over again, oh, Trump sucks and he sucks and everything, and he's terrible, and he is an authoritarian, and
he's the Antichrist.
He's terrible. It's like, okay, telling a liberal-leaning audience in Burbank, California, that no one in the audience is going to
preaching to the choir.
Nobody's going to be like, sir, I disagree. No, everybody's like, yeah, we're on board.
Actually, what I loved is hearing the other people in the auditorium be like, no, he's totally right.
Right,
But,
yeah.
I think there was a guy crying in the theater. I don't know if you heard that. He was over my shoulder. I think he showed up halfway through the movie.
Oh, yeah?
And he's like, oh, I know where we are. This is a great part. And I was like, oh, gosh, man. I need to get a more moderate part of town.
I enjoyed how he did the movie, but yeah, there are those things that it's like if one of the things that in any argument in politics that is a bad argument to get into is the comparing anybody to Hitler.
Yeah, they did that at the end of the movie.
No, they did it a bunch of times.
A bunch of times, but they spent the whole last 10 minutes just comparing him and putting his voice over Hitler. And I'm like, that's cheeky. That's Michael Moore. But I'm like, this is like an easy thing to say that he's doing that.
Right. It's an easy thing to say, and the political parallels of things that happened in 1930s Germany to what happened in certain things. I mean, you can make those parallels. I think that's just like a little, I don't know, like not too easy, but like that's just the go-to
cheap
argument.
Shot.
The cheap
it's
shot
like
argument.
A jump scare.
Yeah, it's like a cheap shot argument of making him.
Didn't Dinesh D'Souza do the same thing?
Oh, absolutely.
In his movie?
He does it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like he had a Klansman, a holographic Klansman, jump out of a screening in front of who was that? Like Truman maybe or something. I don't know. But like it was Truman.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does the same shit.
Yeah.
So and it's true. It's like these two filmmakers do a lot of the same things. One's way better at it.
One's more entertaining, more engaging.
And I will say that. I mean, the movie was entertaining. To someone who is going to be politically understanding or like.
On one side,
I mean, again, telling me Trump's an idiot, I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not going to be like, oh, I think he gets a bad rap. I'm like, no, I think he's an asshole. I mean, like, I don't think.
The only thing I will say that the movie doesn't say he's an idiot is they make him seem like he's an idiot when it runs for government, but they don't say he's an idiot for what he's doing, because they make it very clear he knows exactly what he's doing.
Right.
He knows how to play to his audience, and I'm like, this is the first time I'm actually hearing from a very leftist filmmaker that no, this guy knows what he's doing.
Sure,
he's playing to his eyes and playing to his strengths.
Right, and which goes back into him making the parallels to authoritarians. This is like all part of his authoritarian plan to push forward.
But now we're like trudging in this opinion area.
Yes,
it's so hard. It's so hard,
and it's hard, and like I don't want to just sit and rant about disliking Trump, because I mean, let's be honest here. If you're watching this about two guys who have literally L.A. is in the title of our screenings, and you're surprised that we might have more liberal.
Do we really? I mean, yes, we do. We live in California.
We live in California. I mean, we're not going to be, if you're surprised by that, then really it's on you. But
I mean, I don't even know if they have gender labels on our bathrooms at the theater. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm just kidding. They totally do. No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I'm not against people having other viewpoints or anything. It's fine, but it's just.
Well, this movie seemed like it had a very strong viewpoint, and which is like, as a documentary, that's supposed to happen. But I think he deviated from his plan from the beginning, where he's like, I'm going to explain how we got here. And he was explaining how we got here, but then kind of went off the rails for a bit. And then we came back. And then went off the rails some more.
I think because he was trying to capture like literally every bad thing that's happened.
Every bad thing that's happened ever
including
since.
that fake missile strike that happened in Hawaii.
What the hell? That had nothing to do with the whole concept.
I mean, other than the fact that was like a bad thing that happened. He was like doing this coda, this final thing of the movie, and talking about this is what we have to do, and then all of a sudden it just stops. It goes black, and you hear the sirens, and then he shows all the like social media posts of people saying, "Oh God, there's a missile strike coming to Hawaii."
Is this the future of America? Is this the America we want? And I was like, what the hell?
He's like, I was fine with your point before this.
I think. Well, he made his point like 40 minutes into the movie.
Well, more than that. I mean, like, as soon as he said how the F did we get here, and then it was like, that was his point.
I think, in the documentary wise, I think the movie The 13th did a much better job of explaining the how we got here type of thing, where the whole movie was, this is how we got here, and these are all the things incredibly relevant to it, and never went on a tangent. And I was really expecting that with this, because it is good to know now in retrospect, how did we get here?
Sure.
How was the media completely wrong, and everyone basically completely wrong on who got elected that year? And I was really interested in seeing, like, well, you know, this is how voters in this area thought, and this is how voters in this area thought. But this really did seem like just therapy for a certain political spectrum.
You're kind of right, because like he really didn't go into depth, like, because like the second or third shot was of Putin in Russia.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, what about like this Russian meddling?
Right. I thought he was going to like talk about how this is the Russians made this happen.
And we all know like Pennsylvania swung his way because of the steel mills. Like, why aren't you interviewing people who are the steel mills?
And he also talked about the Electoral College. Like those were 2 points he made within the first 20 minutes. He
like skimmed the surface and then went on to
then it became about Flint, Michigan, and then it became about like the Parkland kids, and then it became about a whole bunch of other stuff. And yeah, mostly about like money and politics, and how everybody in
like
politics, including Trump's personal life, everybody in politics, including President Obama, everybody is on the political spectrum that has destroyed our country.
Which I think is great. If that was, I see that's like his final point, his final argument. But getting to that, I was like, where are we going? And so I think that's the problem of the film. It's that it didn't have a consistent voice story, narrative that I could follow his train of thought. He sounded like a rambling man, which is like, ironically, like our president, a rambling man. And I was like, oh, you guys have more in common than you think.
Maybe you do, yeah. It's possible, yeah.
I definitely don't think documentaries are hard to watch in theaters. I think what better serves a documentary filmmaker is buying their movie or renting it online or something, because that money goes to them directly. Because us watching it at AMC Burbank, Michael Moore's not going to get a lot of money out of it, if anything, unless he's like actually distributing himself, which he's not. So I wouldn't recommend watching it in a theater, because it just doesn't need to be. There's no
there's no cinematic value.
Yeah, no cinematic value. Watching. This isn't No Man on Wire.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. It's so. I mean, again, there's not a whole lot else to talk about unless you're talking about, you know, because again, like if you've even half paid attention to most of the news.
This is like a rehash.
It is. It's a rehash. It's a greatest hits of all the bad and some good news that's happened over the past.
One positive thing I'll say about Michael Moore, he really finds incredible footage that he uses for his documentaries. I saw Capitalism: A Love Story, and it like made the news that he found this old FDR film of him reading out what he wants to be the second Bill of Rights, and historians are like, "Holy shit! How did you find this?" And this was the same thing on this movie. Like he had footage from the Parkland shooting, he had footage from the Hawaiian reaction. He had Flint footage, and I was like, "Holy shit! How did you find this stuff?" Like this is like archival stuff that's very important. So positive.
Again, he does really nice things.
He does his research.
He does some really nice research. He gets, and I think if anything that helps his point of view a lot, because Dinesh D'Souza does a lot of recreations.
Really?
Like it's, or like you know, in the last one, you know, I've seen clips from it, and I've seen from Brad's video on it. Like it's like him talking to people in prison, but like they didn't follow him when he actually went to prison. It's him reenacting it.
Oh, that's so lame.
And so he's having interviews with people. They're saying, "Oh yeah, well I killed a guy," you know. And he's like, "Oh, I just told people to give money to certain people." So, "Oh yeah, well I murdered somebody." He's like, "Well, okay, but like they're, you know."
Why don't you actually get out there? It's not that hard. It's just you, a camera, and a microphone.
Because he wouldn't have gotten any of that footage. You know, he has to pay actors to say stuff. So whereas like Michael Moore very much gets people and their stories.
And he asks the questions. I've done documentaries before.
Yeah.
And you know, it's weird. It's weird having a camera because your subject starts to clam up, and Michael Moore, he gets them to not clam up, and they talk. Yeah. I mean, granted, this is also a political documentary, so everyone's like, I'm ready to talk as a camera, you know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is, you know, he does a really good job of that, and there's some really compelling stories. I mean, you know, his home is Flint. That's where he's from.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
And it's the stories he tells of Flint are heartbreaking.
And they're honest.
They're honest, and so it's, I mean, that part of the movie, like I don't even think that's political. It's just like it's heartbreaking what's happening to these
Well,
people.
and that's why I got the feeling that this was a Flint documentary.
Yeah, I agree.
That he decided to make it bigger because Flint happened before Trump got
absolutely.
elected.
Yeah. Well,
and so
there's the footage of Obama showing up there and then
current
drinking the water.
president.
And so
I didn't even know that happened.
I didn't, and okay, so that was a pretty to not totally get to the thing, but there's this moment where they talk about Obama going to Flint to
the people in that community, they hailed him as like he's the guy who's gonna come fix it. He's gonna make it like a national emergency. FEMA can come in, fix the pipes, blah blah blah. And what did he do?
He sits down in front of them and says, "Here, I want a glass of water." And he takes a glass of water and drinks it.
But he doesn't drink.
He doesn't. He thinks it's like what's his.
Well, the moment he said, "I'm thirsty, can I get some water?"
Right.
Everyone in the room's like.
Right, like it all just changed.
Do you know why you're here?
And again, being a good filmmaker, Michael Moore built up this moment with music and editing, and everybody's excited to see him. But then it just I don't remember that.
I don't remember. And now seeing that perspective, I was like, yeah, that's cold, Obama.
It's
cold.
It is cold. Yeah, it's pretty awful. I mean,
I'm here. Bye, people.
Yeah,
you know?
he shows up and more or less says everything's fine and then leaves.
And Flint's still not fixed.
And Flint is still not fixed.
You see, I would have actually loved a Flint documentary rather than like this anti-Trump type documentary.
You know the thing is though is it never would have been made. I mean, never would have been distributed.
Damn shame.
It wouldn't have been. I mean, he had to make it into an anti-Trump documentary to get worldwide or nationwide distribution.
That sucks because some of my best documentaries I've seen are about a very specific subject. Like Taxi Cab to the Dark Side is a phenomenal documentary. Man on Wire was a phenomenal. I mean, but also that kind of got really good word of mouth. I digress. It's a whole different subject. Distribution for documentaries.
Which funnily enough, the last few times I went to see documentaries in the theaters, I always got previews for other documentaries. But we didn't get any trailers for documentaries.
We got Aquaman. What else did we get? We got Rosamund Pike being a crazy badass journalist.
Right, yeah. That was
an eye patch.
Yeah, that sounds cool. We didn't get it, which you mentioned to me. You're like, well, no documentaries. It was like, well, because this is more of an entertainment film anyway.
The theater has AMC Burbank 16, which is a big theater.
Right.
So they
don't normally show documentaries at a big theater.
It's kind of odd that you said that you're going to go see it at AMC Burbank. It's like, what? Really? That one?
It's easy for me to get to in a park at. I don't want to go to Santa Monica. Yeah, we could go to the tiny artsy theater.
You said it's a documentary, so I thought some guy had a DVD and we're going to his house. I'm just kidding.
That
sucks. The truth hurts.
Sorry, it's true. Well, I mean, the thing is that before Michael Moore, I mean, he brought documentaries back into the mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, he really did. Super Size Me and some of these other ones wouldn't have had the mainstream appeal that they did if it wasn't for Michael Moore.
I completely agree. And I mean, he is, I think, decades from now, when you and I are still doing reviews, we'll be talking about Michael Moore. It's like, there's there's Michael Moore, the guy who directed Man on Wire, James Marsh, I think is his name. Very we talk about these filmmakers who made these documentaries. Like, who did that one documentary? I remember the name of it. It's The Decline of Western Civilization. Can't remember her name. But that Decline of Western Civilization. We talk about the movie. We talk about Woodstock still. Documentaries, I think, are a very good form of film.
Yes.
It's just unfortunate that it's not a marketable form of film.
No, it's got to be sensational, which is why, again, making it
Dinesh D'Souza
making it super anti-Hillary and super whatever, and then now this making it super anti-Trump. That's going to get people in there. That's going to get people super engaged and super excited. It's got to so. I think that there are some good points and there are some things that are reasonable calls to action that can be made in this film.
Yeah.
Just simply getting out the vote. The importance of getting the people who don't vote to vote. I think that's an important point to be made.
And I think he touched on that, where he's like, a lot of people just feel like they're getting left out in the entire election process. Like he brought it to the Electoral College, and he's like, people are just, why should I vote? I'm in Montana. My vote doesn't count. And it's like, well, you're onto something now. But then he goes on another topic.
And then he gets off on some other type of tangent. So I don't know. I mean, as far as when it comes to recommending or not recommending something like this, it's a hard. I don't know. I find it hard. if you like Michael Moore films, and honestly, I do like them because they're entertaining.
Yeah.
Even though I sometimes walk out of them going, or or just like I don't know.
Well, 80% of that was a lie.
right. Or like it was a little, I mean, yeah. If you like the Michael Moore type of film, you're gonna get what you expect. I mean, as far as like if you've got other things to watch, I mean, Predator came out this week.
I don't know. You want to talk about a divisive film?
Yeah. Well, actually, that is pretty true. I mean, there's other things to watch. I would say if you're a Michael Moore fan, it's definitely going to be it's his work. He does his job very well. He makes his points that he wants to make. He does them in a very nice way, whether or not you agree with him or if you have to again remember that there might be some facts he's keeping out.
Steve Bannon likes watching Michael Moore films.
He had footage of Steve Bannon saying that he liked his films.
Pretty surprising.
which is and Jared Kushner. Well, like that, yeah.
Well, Jared Kushner was a huge fan.
Jared Kushner held the premiere for Sicko, and then
I think that was before he was even dating Ivanka, which is like weird.
Yeah, okay. I would recommend.
Okay.
I would recommend the film with the caveat of knowing that you're maybe not everything he says is like the full side of the story. Yes, he's giving facts and the facts are damning, but you always have to wonder if there's additional facts that are being left out.
Or what's the context?
Or what's the exact context of the facts? So I'd say recommend, but know that you're not getting. You can't go in there and expect everything's going to be true. You got to know it's his point of view. It's an essay piece by him,
and it's kind of doom and gloom the whole time.
Yeah, it's kind of doom and gloom. So, what do you think?
I think there are better political documentaries that are more objective. I think the 13th, the Ava DuVernay documentary, is very good. Taxi Cab to the Dark Side. I think this is only gonna make right-wing people very happy to see the tragedy that left-wing people are seeing, or as a left-wing, you're gonna be like, yeah, let's wallow in pain together, and then we're gonna get together, but wallow in pain.
It's a lot of wallow in pain.
This movie serves a purpose that if you want to feel good about maybe the future of the left-wing party, this is your movie to watch. If you want to be informed about how seemingly impossible odds that Trump got elected, this movie isn't going to get that for you. And I think that's the disappointing fact, because I was really looking forward to and
he talks a little bit about in the beginning about how this was not Trump's plan. He starts out by saying it's Gwen Stefani's fault because Trump found out she was getting paid more on The Voice than he was to do The Apprentice.
And I was
I thought that was going to be really interesting. That it was going to be a holy crap, how did we get here thing.
Yeah, leading every A to B, cause effect.
Yeah, it started out with a lot of that, and then just went
way over there. So that's my thing. So I mean, I really wouldn't recommend it.
I mean that's fair. I'm recommending it, but I only recommend it just as in you like Michael Moore films, and you kind of Do you
like McDonald's? Get more McDonald's.
Get more McDonald's.
Who am I to judge?
Who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? Exactly.
Oh man, it's late. As you can tell, it is actually midnight.
We actually did it at midnight today because we love you people that much. We really do. We hear your complaints, and we decided to harm ourselves by doing this at midnight. So.
Well, should we go get some donuts or something?
Oh sure, yeah, it's Burbank. We can get donuts.
They're open.
Yeah, of course, why not? Yeah. All right. Signing off. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys. I want a Long John or Frosty. Yeah.
Ooh.
Something like that,